You're going to see some time-based questions, so let's go through a few examples here. Okay, so at first we have questions about time zones. So you will be asked about this. Usually it's going from Pacific time to Eastern time in the United States. That's typically the question, right? And that's a 3-hour jump, right? So if you go from, let's see, in this example, we're going to say from San Francisco to Miami. Okay, so it would be a 3-hour difference. Or like somewhere in California to New York is another common example. Anyway, those are all 3-hour jumps. So let's look at that. So it's this one says we leave San Francisco 9 a.m. We leave from San Francisco 9 a.m. It says it's a 6-hour flight. Okay, 6 hours, right? So 9 a.m. if we add 6 hours, that gets us to 3 p.m. Okay, and so that will definitely be one of your answer choices, right? But then remembering we were going to Miami, right? So that's going to be add another 3 hours equals 6 p.m. Okay, and what if it was reversed, right? What if it was that you left 9 a.m. from Miami to San Francisco, right? So 9 a.m. still takes 6 hours, then we're again at 3 p.m. And then we've landed in San Francisco, okay? But we lose 3 hours this time, right? Because the other way around. So now it's noon, 12 p.m. Okay. So that's our example on just getting kind of comfortable with time zones. Certainly something you'll face in the military, changing time zones. This next one, you drive 60 miles at a rate of 80 miles per hour. How long did it take you to drive the 60 miles? Okay, so when we see here, so I have 60 miles at 80 miles per hour. Okay, so this is the 60 miles, that's distance. Right, 60 miles is a distance, this 80 is a rate. Okay, so right here you want to know distance equals rate times time. Have to know that. It's going to show up probably more than once. Distance D equals RT. Distance equals rate times time. Okay, so they gave us distance, they gave us rate, and they asked for time. Okay, so then we just plug this stuff in. So 60 was the distance that they want to know, right? Rate, 80, time, don't know. Okay, now all we gotta do is get t by itself, so we're gonna divide each side by 80, right? And t equals 60 over 80. If we reduce this by dividing the bottom and the top each by 20, that can be reduced, which you need to do, to 3/4. Okay, so t equals 3/4. So what does that mean? So they're saying that time is 3/4 of an hour. Okay, so if you do that and you know that 3/4 of an hour equals a certain number of minutes, great. If you don't, that's fine. We'll just set up a little quick equation to solve that. Right, so 3/4 of an hour is how many minutes, right, equals how many minutes out of 60, because there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, and then we need to cross multiply these guys, right? 4 times x is 4x, 60 times 3 is 180. Okay, and if we divide each side by 4, right, we just cross multiply these guys. 4x equals 180, 180 divided by 4 is 45. Okay, so that means it took 45 minutes to go 60 miles at 80 miles an hour. So you get questions about how long it took like that, you gotta be thinking distance equals rate times time. If you get 2 of those variables, then you just solve for the third one. Okay. Let's take a look here. So it goes This one says we go 150 miles in 3 hours. Assuming consistent speed, so you maintain the same speed, how long will it take to drive 700 miles? Okay. We got 150 miles in 3 hours. Right, so we need to be able to figure out what that rate is, right? To be able to figure out the rest of the question, we need to know rate. Okay, 150 miles in 3 hours, and we're gonna go 700 miles total. Okay, so we're just gonna divide these. 150 miles divided by 3 equals 50. So for the first 3 hours, they went 50 miles per hour, right? 50 miles per hour, 50 times 3 equals 150, works out. Okay, now we're gonna go 700 miles, right? So now we have everything we need for distance equals rate times time, right? We know this is the rate. This, distance. Okay, now we have exactly what we just had in the last question, right? Just different numbers. 700 equals the rate, which is 50, and then they want to know how long it took to go 700 miles. All right, we do the same thing. Divide by 50, both sides, t equals 14, right? And we're doing this in hours, so it means it takes 14 hours to go 700 miles, going at 50 miles per hour. Okay? One more. Okay, working overtime. This question likely to show up really. Right, the concept being that for the first 40 hours of the work week, you get paid a certain rate, like a certain amount of dollars per hour, and then when you go over 40 hours, you get paid overtime, which is time and a half. Okay, so we're gonna say for this person, they make $12 an hour, but they work for 50 hours. Okay, so for the first 40, they get this 12, right? 40 times 12 equals 480. So that's what they made in the first 40 hours. 40 hours, $12 an hour, they made 480. But then in the last 10 hours, they made 18. How did I get that? Okay, we started with 12. Time and a half means times 1.5. 12 times 1.5 equals 18. Okay, so that's where this number would come from. 10 times 18 is 180. And then we just add these two numbers together to figure out how much we made in 50 hours. And that total is $660 for the week.